Greetings, USHAPers. It's Miss CG again with an asynchronous lesson for you today. So a reminder that today we're not meeting in our normal Zoom classes, but we're doing it asynchronously. We're trying to really make this more usable time for you. So expect to see some more asynchronous classes so that we don't have to be in the Zoom classes as often, but you'll still get all of the content that you need to cover. So today we're going to be focusing on recapping and kind of wrapping up the market revolution. There'll be an LEQ practice. This is for attendance. So please make sure that you complete this today by 4 p.m. so that your teacher can mark you present for your work today, because we do still have to mark you absent or present. So please make sure that you get that done today. And then the bulk of today will be looking at Jefferson, but that'll be in a different video. Reminders, some due dates coming up. Reading response number 14 and LEQ 1 are going to be due on Monday the 26th. So keep your eyes on that particular prize, especially the LEQ. Reading response 15 and the Jefferson-Janus assignment, which we will be going over in a later video, is going to be due next week. So keep your eye on those due dates as they come in. So for today's lesson, you should be using the asynchronous document. So this is going to let you know exactly what you should be doing in which order. So please follow that progression as we go through all of this. Okay, so first up, let's review from last week. So as we're going through this, and before I do the recap, see how many of these questions you could answer. Think about what kind of work is being done now in the American economies as a result of the market revolution. Remember, you should have watched that video after our Unit 3 exam. Who's doing the work? Think about skilled workers versus unskilled workers. How is patriarchy playing a role here? What kind of work are women doing? Are women doing work or not? How are the regions playing here? What is the North focusing on? What is the South focusing on? What changes in transportation have we seen? What changes in communication? And so the really important question is this last question. How is sectionalism playing a role here? How are different regions benefiting differently? Or is it equal as a result of the market revolution? So that's going to be the topic of your LEQ practice. Okay, let's recap the market rev. The market rev is huge, like we talked about before, that this is, it's not a fancy debate, it's not a compromise, it's not a war, it doesn't have battles, but it fundamentally changes everything about our economies, and that is just so crucial. I've never seen an AP test where we did not see the market revolution, so this is really crucial stuff, so make sure that you pay close attention to this. So we're doing a massive shift here. So we've gone from, if you're a farmer, you would have just been raising enough to support your own family. So this is called sustenance farming. And so now this is an expansion. Maybe you're seeing new inventions. Maybe you've got your hands on a new John Deere plow that's coming out now. Maybe you got your hands on a McCormick Reaper that is allowing you to harvest your crops quicker and easier. And now you can have extra, and you can sell that extra to other people. Remember, we're moving away from the barter economy that we had really seen a lot of previously. Changing of trade into transportation networks is really crucial for this to work. So remember, before the market revolution, if you were trying to sell products, it was easier for you to sell it internationally over the Atlantic Ocean than to do it domestically. So increasing our improvements on our roads, like the Cumberland Road, the Erie Canal, these are really important movements forward. So it'd be really good if you can have examples of each one of these things. So again, the National Road or the Cumberland Road is a good example for new roads. There's turnpikes that they're using. The Erie Canal, the Erie Canal is what is going to turn New York into the preeminent city in the United States. The start of the Transcontinental Railroad, this is something that we'll be developing through the next couple of units. As well, the telegraph is enabling better communication and quicker communication. What we're going to see in the War of 1812, that some of our most famous battles end up happening after the war is over, because Andrew Jackson didn't know that the British had already surrendered. If we had had a telegraph, then we maybe didn't have President Andrew Jackson. We've got the rise of the factory system, thanks to Samuel Slater. Keep in mind, this is what Hamilton is dreaming of, making the United States an industrial and a manufacturing powerhouse. The idea that we could stand toe-to-toe with another industrial power like Great Britain. This is what he's looking for. All right, so let's look at the causes of the market revolution. So we're seeing these increase in transportation innovations, like we've talked about here previously. We're going to see the growth of the West, in particular farming. We're going to see more land being available for farming. We've got new inventions, Eli Whitney's cotton gin. You've got the John Deere plow. You've got the McCormick reaper. Definitely refresh your memory on Hamilton's economic plan. That's never not a good idea to review that one. It comes back so many times. And this is really setting the stage for being able to engage in this market revolution. And the importance of cheap or free labor is going to be a major component here as well. All right, we're going to come back to the effects in a little bit, but definitely want to highlight the importance of Lowell Mill. So this is a factory town that is set up by Francis Lowell in Massachusetts, and this is a game changer, partially because for the first time you see women being hired en masse. This is textile production, so they're spinning and weaving, all of those good inventions I'm sure you remember from world studies, the spinning jenny and all of those things. So again, total game changer, because you've got women that are being hired here. They are living at Lowell, so they're living kind of in dormitories. As you can see from the picture there, the work is tough, the pay is not as high as it would be if they were male, because female employment or payment is always seen as a supplemental income. Because as a woman, you are either property of your husband or your father. So the idea was that either way you are being taken care of. So it was just seen as kind of extra money. You are going to see the first real labor movement happening at Lowell. So the women will agitate for more money and better working hours. And because there's so much competition for these types of jobs, they're basically factory owners at any point in time, not just at Lowell, can just fire everyone, because the vast majority of the work that's being done in these factories is unskilled work, and basically anyone can do that. So they can always fire you at any time and just hire a whole new crop of people. There are zero workplace protections. This is going to come into play when we hit the progressive movement. There's no workers' comp. If you are injured or killed on the job, your family has zero recourse. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. There's a video in your document for you to watch. So definitely make sure that you take a look at that. So that'll give you just a little bit more on Lowell and the important place that it holds here in our labor history. All right, let's get to these effects. I do want to point out in the middle here, these are the three categories we tend to use when we talk about the market revolution: transportation, commercialization, and industrialization. So as you're studying through this unit, be a good idea to figure out, kind of quiz yourself. What's an example of new transportation? What's an example of commercialization? What's an example of industrialization in the market rev? All right, so the effects, and there are many, as you can see. This is not an equal distribution of benefits. The North is going to develop at warp speed as a result of the market revolution. The South will not. The South is going to continue to lag behind basically for generations. So this is really the paramount event that really separates these regions. The South is still really going to be focusing on cash crops, especially now that you've got Eli Whitney and the cotton gin. They can get through cotton even faster than they could before. You have the rise of factory towns like Lowell Mill. You've got Samuel Slater. That's a good name to have at your disposal. He's the inventor of the factory system in the United States. You've got Eli Whitney again with another invention or idea, and that is of interchangeable parts. So that's going to make putting together these different items a lot faster and easier. major effect. It changes our entire sense of time. Most people didn't feel the need to carry around a pocket watch or to have clocks around, but now this really changes the way that we are running our lives by the clock. We'll eventually see the importance of electricity, that you'll be able to staff these factories 24 hours a day if you want to. Female factory jobs like Lowell. Again, keep in mind, this is not applying to your upper class women. They're still going to be all in on Republican motherhood and all of that. So this is more of our lower class and our emerging middle class women. We've got a huge impact of child labor. They're going to be the cheapest source of labor that they have access to in the North. This is going to be a societal ill that Congress and the presidency and the courts will try to strike down time and time again, but they really won't be successful until FDR's the New Deal, when there is so much competition for jobs, when we are in a massive depression. So hold on for that. Got the use of immigrant labor, especially high numbers coming from Germany and Ireland in this time period. This is going to lead to the rise of large cities. You've got, obviously, New York was already a good sized city, but it's just going to become even more huge during this time period. You're going to see other big cities rising, like St. Louis, Detroit, Charleston. In the South, you've got the rise of big cities, Chicago, things like that. And you've got this mood of restlessness. We're going to see this idea of going west, young man. So westward movement, especially after the purchase of the Louisiana territory, it doubles the size of our nation. So lots of opportunities for people to move out west. High competitiveness for low-skilled jobs. Second Great Awakening, we're going to hit that a little bit later on, so don't worry too much about that yet. And we'll have the cult of domesticity and separate spheres, which we'll discuss in just a few minutes here. A big change that we're seeing here as a result of the market revolution is a developing middle class. So this is a new change in American society. So this growing middle class, you still have this very small tip there of the pyramid of your wealthy elites. That hasn't changed. But you've got a very large group of the laboring poor. So the working poor, these are going to be your folks that are staffing these factories, especially your unskilled workers. All right, what's going on with women and families? These are great terms to have at your disposal. Separate spheres, cult of domesticity. So this is the idea that women inhabit the private sphere and the men inhabit the public sphere. So women are the ones taking care of hearth and home, raising of children, that sort of thing. An intense focus on piety, on purity, submissiveness. Now, this is why we like Lowell's Mill. Lowell's Mill is a great way to showcase complexity. If you've got a question about work, this is a nice thing to show as nuance. You're also going to see fewer children being born. Part of this is out of necessity. When everyone was working on farms, you needed as many children as possible to help you with that. But now, as you've got more people gravitating towards cities, you don't really need that anymore. Godey's Ladies book, another important piece of evidence to hang on to if you can. This is a hugely popular women's magazine. It's going to go on for decades and decades. We have seen this used as a document on DBQs in the past, and this is prescriptive, not descriptive of the female experience in this time period. So it's reinforcing these ideas. So you can really get a sense of that here from just a few images from Godey's Ladies book. So obviously, if you know anything about the time period leading up to the Civil War, this is definitely the kind of fashion we're looking at there. So those big hoop skirts that obviously make it hard to get through doorways. You can see the emphasis on tiny waists, head coverings, that sort of thing. And then check these out. So imagine if your home was as peaceful as these images portray. You don't see any screaming children. There's no chaos. There's no mayhem. So really setting up the home as a place of peace and refuge. Do double check that you've got your Fluency Fact card all set for the market revolution. It's a big one. As you can see from this, again, please make sure that you have those categories on there. You need those on that particular Fluency Fact. Transportation, commercialization, industrialization, and the big significant piece that the North is going to be the primary beneficiary of all of this. Okay, so reminder that your attendance requirement is the LEQ practice in Canvas. So go to your teacher's Canvas page and make sure that you complete that for the day that you were supposed to be attending your Zoom class. So double check that and go fill that in and get a little LEQ practice.